After years of waiting, Starfield is finally out, and after spending about 80 hours with the game, finishing the main story and doing most of the side quests, I have lots of thoughts about the game, as my experience was quite interesting. This video won't be a straightforward review of the game, as my feelings towards it are more complex. During the game, I felt that my experience was affected by expectations and comparisons more than usual, so this review will be more of an introspective look of how outside influence can affect my view of a game and how hard it becomes to judge a game when that happens. My expectations going into Starfield were very mixed. I was excited for something new from the studio behind such massive franchises as Elder Scrolls and Fallout. As a fan of both, especially Fallout, I was curious how they could bring their magic to a new universe. My expectations were tempered after the first big trailer, which ended with the hundreds of explorable planets line. Then I knew that my experience could possibly be tainted by the procedurally generated content. Despite all that, I still had high hopes that the game still would have that amazing Bethesda exploration magic in some way. The feeling when you open up the map in Fallout and decide to do the main quest over there, but then just naturally get distracted by all the things on the way and just get lost in the world. All of that is unfortunately gone with Starfield. After a short prologue, the game lets you off the leash and pushes you into the world like any other Bethesda game, but you quickly realize how the magic is gone. Starfield's disjointed nature with the multiple planets, solar systems, and the menu-based navigation just doesn't allow you to get distracted, because traveling to a destination is always an acknowledged choice when you press X to travel. And yes, you could use the HUD icons to navigate to your quest destination, but even that requires you to go into a menu and set a quest as active. And even that I could forgive if the menus were intuitive and fast travel was actually fast, but it's not. Navigating the Galaxy menu is a pain, and travel from one place to another might include up to 4 separate loading screens to reach your destination. Planetary exploration is not any better. There are a few main cities and settlements in the universe, and all of those are beautifully realized, and I could easily spend a game session or two just doing quests inside the utopic New Atlantis, the Wild West inspired Achilles City, or the Blade Runner-esque corporate dystopia of Neon. But traveling outside the cities is just not worth it. I started the game by following all those unknowns in your scanner, but in the first 10 hours I encountered the same exact abandoned facility design 3 times with few enemies and randomized loot. I quickly realized that there is no incentive to explore outside the quests, which was a massive disappointment, as that has always been the best part of a Bethesda game, and the main theme of Starfield is literally exploring the mysteries of the universe. Luckily, it is not all bad news, as there are areas where Bethesda has really improved on their earlier shortcomings. Fallout 4 was and still is a very mixed game. As a Fallout fan, there was still a lot I loved about it, but its stumbling with the story, faction quests, and heavy focus on the base building definitely hurt my experience, and is the reason why it's way below 3 and New Vegas for me. Luckily, Bethesda has taken some of the criticism to heart, and Starfield improves on this end a lot. Starfield actually made me care about the main story, with great missions, good writing, and incredibly realized world with deep lore that is joy to uncover. The different factions and their quest lines felt involved and had many unique and exciting set pieces, from almost immersive sim-style heists to spelunking into beautiful crystal caves. Some quests were hurt by the annoying navigation, as there were moments where the quest queue asks you to go pick up an item from planet X, so you fast travel there, talk to one guy, get the item, and fast travel back. But luckily each one of those were balanced with more involved quest design and great stories to uncover. Outside of the main and faction quests, I really appreciated how the game gave you new side quests. Running around the cities, you overhear conversations which might point you to a character who then gives you the quest. It added a lot to make the cities feel more dynamic. I was also positively surprised that most of the quests were nicely handcrafted and those procedurally generated missions were separated so you never had to interact with them if you didn't want to. Same thing with the base building, the game never forced that on you, which was a relief. Bethesda has also made the combat feel a bit better. I thought the shooting in Fallout 4 was already acceptable, and I used VATS mostly for fun and not as a necessary element to get through combat encounters. But Starfield continues the road of improvements by making the shooting even more fun. The boostback also offers added verticality to the fights. The AI can sometimes be really brain dead, which was annoying, and stealth seems to be totally broken as enemies sometimes spot you without any reason and other times they don't notice anything even if you're right in front of them. Unfortunately, it's not all roses for Starfield when it comes to the Fallout 4 comparisons in my mind. Starfield has two aspects where I think they took a massive step back from Fallout 4, crafting and the presentation of the conversations. I love crafting in games, and one of my favorite aspects of Fallout 4 was its crafting system. Crafting different attachments to your weapons and modding your armor was very satisfying, and most importantly, it made looting worthwhile. The developers have mentioned how they have a separate team just cluttering the world with random junk, and in Fallout 4 all that junk was important, as a random desk fan or clipboard might have had just the correct crafting ingredient for your next upgrade. For Starfield, they made the baffling choice to move away from that and creating totally separate crafting ingredient system based mostly on minerals that you need to go out of your way to mine and specific crafting items. And there is no reason to mine or gather them, as you can just buy it all from vendors for a reasonable price, which I did. I didn't touch the mining laser after the first 10 hours of the game unless it was for a quest, and the world is still littered with all of the same junk, but now it is just that junk with no reason to pick it up. Another mixed bag is the conversations. I am happy that they moved away from the simplified dialogue choices of Fallout 4 and returned to the full sentence responses, and I really enjoyed the new persuasion system. But what I'm not a fan of is the return to the first person, face straight to the camera presentation of dialogue. It is so lifeless, distracting, and breeding ground for immersion breaking moments. I really wish they would have stuck to the third person conversations from Fallout with a more dynamic camera. And there are no dogs in Starfield, making it objectively the worst game.
Hey boy, you know any tricks?
And that leads us to another hurdle that prevented me from fully enjoying the game. I finished Baldur's Gate 3 a week before, and that just blew my mind of what an RPG can be. I actually thought it would have been a good thing, because after beating Baldur's Gate 3, I didn't need Starfield to be the next big thing in RPGs, as I had just experienced that, but unfortunately other part of my brain didn't agree and kept drawing unfair comparisons, affecting my enjoyment. Comparisons are just too easy to pull when the other game is fresh in my mind. And those comparisons came to play with the dialogue and the characters especially. Starfield's conversations just feel so lifeless with the dull presentation, and companions feel bland compared to Baldur's Gate 3. I feel bad about it because, by all factors, these are the best companions Bethesda has ever written, but I just can't help to compare them because of the close proximity. The other issue with the comparison is the depth of choices. Starfield offers a respectable amount of choices of how to deal with a situation or how to resolve a quest, but all of those choices feel like they are in a vacuum. The choices mostly affect only the ending of that particular mission and does not offer the ripple effect of those choices leading to changes in other areas of the game. It once again is an unfair comparison, but Baldur's Gate 3 had such complexity to its choices that it made Starfield seem to have just an illusion of choice in comparison. And there were other moments as well affected by these comparisons, and Baldur's Gate 3 was not the only offender, as the game made me miss No Man's Sky's uninterrupted exploration or Mass Effect's handling of planet scanning. But it's a pointless effort to go through all of them because a lot of them are unfair for Starfield, but at the same time comparisons are the way we judge things. With big points out of the way, let's get to the more normal review with some quick thoughts on the other stuff I really enjoyed about Starfield, how the bugs affected the experience, and why I felt the need to download mods. First thing is the starship customization and combat. To my surprise, I really enjoyed building my own starships, as the modular nature of it really sparked some creativity, and after wrapping my mind around the cumbersome menus, putting the pieces together felt really satisfying. It also gave me a nice nostalgia trip, as the shipbuilding reminded me of gummy ships from Kingdom Hearts. Space combat was also quite fun, even though a bit simple. There is a mechanic where you need to divert powers to the systems you want to use, and I feel like that was slightly unnecessary, as just balancing everything got me through every situation. Other thing I really enjoyed was the lockpicking minigame. I felt like it offered a nice level of challenge without taking too much time. I do wish there was a separate minigame for hacking just to keep things fresh, but I guess it's understandable that every lock in the future is a digital lock. The leveling system was also quite good, but I do think the perk trees are a bit annoying, as you sometimes have to go through multiple unnecessary perks just to get to the ones you want. Bugs are stable in Bethesda games and Starfield is no different, but I do feel bugs affected my experience in different ways than before. Sure, there were a lot of those classic funny animation moments of characters standing on tables or right in front of you in your spaceship, blocking all vision, but unfortunately there were also bugs that severely affected the experience. There were multiple times where the audio just cuts out completely and glitches back in. This usually also affected the dialogue scenes to lose all lip syncing, which obviously is very immersion breaking.
Same old song, huh? You know how this works. Just make up your mind.
But the worst bug happened to me during the most emotional moment in the main story, where animations totally broke and the scene lost all its emotional impact. And lastly, I want to quickly talk about the more technical side of things and the visual presentation of the game, and how I had to rely on mods to fix issues that shouldn't have been issues. The visual presentation of the game is weird, all of the colors feel washed out, there is a weird tint on planets, and nothing in the game is actually black, even the night sky is just grey mush, which feels antithetical to the idea of a space game. Luckily, a quick reshade mod lets you tune the visuals and contrast to your liking, and I definitely took advantage of that. I also had to download a mod to implement Nvidia's upscaler DLSS into the game, as the game is very demanding and you have to rely on resolution upscaling to get decent frame rates, and the game only launched with AMD's FSR upscaler, which creates a much worse image quality than DLSS. The game also has a very narrow, almost nausea-inducing field of view with no in-game option to change it, so you have to go and mess with the game files to change it. Luckily, Bethesda has announced that all of these 3 features will arrive in future update, but in my opinion it is unacceptable for a game to launch without these features in 2023. In the end, I don't really know how I feel about Starfield. I was severely disappointed and annoyed, but also had moments of great fun and intrigue, and for the first time in a Bethesda game, I was truly invested in the story. Some of the negativity was caused by unfair outside influence, but I also think the game still has lots of issues on its own, mainly how it betrays its own major theme of exploration. But still, I can't help but recommend the game, because the game is still something unique. If anything can be found through the non-toxic side of the conversation about Starfield, is that the game has the opportunity to really click with some people, and maybe that will be you. If you got this far, thank you for watching, and I would love to hear your thoughts on the game and feedback for the video, as I try to do something different with this. I feel like there will be always places for traditional reviews, but I think that is not something I want to make. I want to be open about my thoughts and tell it straight if I see my biases, positive or negative, affecting my enjoyment of a game, as I feel it provides more context to the audience. So let me know what you think, and make sure to press those like and subscribe buttons, as I have more videos planned for the near future. Thank you and have a great day.